Are you ready to know how much it really costs to self-publish a book? Well, you're in the right place. In today's video, I'm exposing all of my expenses on how much it costs to bring my book to market. From editing to marketing, I'm exposing it all. Okay, so all of you guys are aware that I am writing my debut book this year about my burnout journey. And as promised from my last video, today we are talking all about the money and how much it has costed me as a self-publishing author. If you're new here, I'm Erica Prevail, writer, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. And after experiencing my own debilitating journey of career burnout, I now help guide women to a life of more ease, balance, and joy using the tips, strategies, and mindset shifts that work for me. Okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty, there's something that my lawyer wants me to read. I am not providing any financial advice. I am just sharing my experience on what things costed me to bring my debut book to life. Things may be more or less expensive based on your own individual needs and your own individual journey. Now let's get into the money. Okay, so as we go through each element of what I spent and how I spent it, I'm going to share with you the reasons why I decided to spend money on these particular things. And I'm going to share if these costs can be skipped or not. I have my running tally of things right here on my laptop, and I'm also going to try to insert a running tally through the edit so you guys can keep track of everything I spent money on. So, like with anything, I'm new in this space and I had no idea about anything. So, of course, I went to Google. And the first thing I Googled was what's the average cost to self publish a book? And it gave me the number of $2,000. So, with that average in mind, I went forward on my journey to self publishing with a budget in mind of $2,000, give or take. So, that's where we started, $2,000. As I stated before, I'm new to self publishing, although I've been a writer in some form my entire life since I was a child. So with this being my first book, my debut book, I wanted to produce it in the best, most professional way possible. So the first thing I started with after I had completed my manuscript, it was, as best as I could bring it together. I knew that I would need help polishing it up, filling in any gaps that may be there for the reader, just really developing it and shaping it in a way that could look polished and professional. So the first thing that I did was hire a writing coach slash developmental editor. So the purpose of a developmental editor and writing coach is to basically help you shape your book, fill in any gaps, get your book in a really polished position as far as the story goes. They're really focused on developing the story of your book. The developmental editor that I chose came to me highly referred. And when I say working with her was beyond joyous, the way that she was able to help me shape my story in a way that would be appealing to the reader, in a way that would allow me to dive deep into the story, in a way that would allow me to just really get into my creative bag. All of her guidance and her questions were very thought provoking, and she was just a pleasure to work with. So the total cost for developmental editing was $898, and that was for 5 sessions. She's based in Canada, so her rates, once they transition to US dollars, was a little less, but the US amount that I paid was $898. And again, that was 5 sessions, and we had a relationship where I would pass off my manuscript. She would make edits, make suggestions, ask questions for deeper thought, and we would go back and forth for several weeks doing this. And I think it was beyond worth it. Actually, I think her value and what she provided me was way it was worth more than $900. I'll just say that. The results that I got was worth way more than $900. So that I would recommend. If you're starting as a new writer publishing, I would recommend a developmental coach. But again, that's something that you can skip. You don't have to pay money for that if you don't want to. But for me and my journey, I think that it was extremely, extremely helpful. So the developmental editor was cost number one, or expense number one. Now let's get into expense number two, which was the copy editor. So once my manuscript was nice and polished and all put together, I sent it off to the copy editor. And this copy editor really looks at all those minute details. So the cost for my copy editor was $880, and we had 4 sessions. And we did basically 4 rounds of back and forth, and the process that we decided on that worked best for us was we did it in 2-week periods. So she would send me her edits. I would review it for 2 weeks, make any adjustments, send it back to her. And then we did that 4 times. Again, she was a pleasure to work with. She came to me, highly recommended, and everyone, as I stated in the first video, that I've been able to work with through this process has been extremely professional. Their expertise is top notch, and this entire process has been extremely, extremely nourishing for me. Copy editing is something that I would not recommend skipping. It's something that I would highly recommend for any writer at any level, especially a beginner, and this is a cost that I wouldn't skip. However, there are, freelancers and other people that you can reach out to maybe get a lower cost. I'm sure there are people out there that may be more expensive, but I would just keep in mind that you get what you pay for. And if you could get a recommendation from someone, I personally like that approach, because I feel like when people come to you recommended, someone else is vouching for their level of work, and it just makes me feel more comfortable, especially with something so personal as your first writing project. Okay, let's get into expense number 3. So the third expense for me was a photo shoot, because I knew I wanted a self-portrait for my cover. I had a photo shoot. I worked with a photographer who I've been working with for over a decade. We worked on many, 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 many creative projects together, and her rate was $300. And I split that in half, because although I was using her for my cover shoot, I also used her for a brand shoot in that same day. So I just split the cost in half. And although her charge was $300, I'm only allocating $150 towards the book cost, because only half of the photo shoot was related to the book. This is a cost that, of course, you can skip if you don't want your cover to have a self portrait. Also, even if you wanted your cover to have a self portrait, you can shoot your own photo, have a friend shoot a photo. So this is an expense that you can definitely skip or find a cheaper route. However, I chose to go this route because, again, I've worked with this photographer for many years. We work very well together as a creative pair, and I knew that she would be able to bring my vision to life for the book, and I also wanted to use her for other branding photos on that same day. Okay, so as you can see, with the developmental editor, writing coach, the copy editor, and the photo shoot, I'm basically already blown my $2,000 budget, but the expenses keep coming. So let's talk about the next expense, which was the designers. So I used a marketing agency or firm, as I discussed in my last video, for my cover photo and my interior pages. This marketing firm it's Black owned. They were a pleasure to work with. They have a group of designers. And for the cover design, which includes the front and back cover and the spine, was charged $400. And for the interior pages, which are the design of the interior pages and the files that go along with them, was $650. And this was also something that I Googled before going into. I just wanted to know the average cost of a book design. And when I Googled it, it gave me wide varying ranges. I believe the average for the cover design said about 500 to 800. And for the interior pages, it went from hundreds all the way to thousands of dollars, just depending on the complexity of your interior pages, if there's a lot of photos. So those costs could vary. Again, I wanted to go with someone professional, as I discussed in the last video with the cover. I just didn't want to take the chance on going with a freelancer, although there's a lot of great freelancers out there, and I knew that this was something that I just couldn't do myself. So again, this is a cost that personally I would recommend, but I also understand that there's room to get things done yourself or to find it at a less costly expense. Again, I will always also just continue to put out there that you get what you pay for, but if you know someone, you're skilled in graphic design or something like that, this is a cost that you may be able to decrease, or it might be more expensive than what I paid just based on the complexities of your book. So we got the tally running here of all the costs, and we are not done yet. So before we get into the next set of expenses that's more business related around authorship and self-publishing, I want to go back a few steps. I would highly recommend that you hire a proofreader after your copy editor has finalized their portion of your manuscript. I did not initially have this on my list of expenses because the proofreader that I was going to use was a family friend who does this semi-professionally, and of course she was not going to charge me. However, I live in Florida and we recently had a hurricane and her home was destroyed. So understandably, she wasn't able to help me with the proofreading, which meant that I now have to add proofreading into my expenses, and it's something that I had not originally budgeted for. So I have a few outreaches out there. So I'm going to put $150 down for proofreading because I think that it's something that needs to be done. I wouldn't skip it. I wouldn't recommend skipping it. Again, just the additional pair of eyes on that manuscript before it goes to the designers to go inside your inside pages. Okay, now let's get into the next two expenses that are more business related. The next expense was for the registered copyright. So you want to get your book registered and copywritten at the Library of Congress, just as another level of protection. It just made me feel better. Of course, your work is your work, is copywritten the moment after you've written it. There's a lot of content out there where you can get to the nitty gritty of it. Should you, shouldn't you? I did. I would recommend it. And that is $65 to have your manuscript registered at the Copyright Office. The next expense is your ISBN number. So your ISBN numbers is like your social security number for your books. And you need a ISBN number for every format of your book. So like if you're doing a paperback copy, a hardcover, an audio, you need a separate ISBN number. So I bought a 10 pack of ISBN numbers and it was $295. It was just a better deal because one ISBN number was, I believe, 125. So I just bought 10 for $295, a better deal. I'm going to be putting out multiple formats of the book, and then I'll have leftovers for my future book. ISBN numbers are something you cannot skip. However, on certain platforms, you can get them for free. I would caution folks on getting the free one just because, for example, if you get the free ISBN on Amazon KDP, you are only restricted to have your book for sale on that particular platform. However, when you buy your own ISBN numbers, you have the flexibility of selling on KDP, Barnes and Noble, so on and so forth. So again, it is a cost that you can skip if you want to get the free ones. But for me, I wanted to pay for them. I wanted to have the control to go to any platform that I wanted with the same ISBN number. So the expenses keep coming. The last two expenses are things you can definitely skip, but I'm going to share with you why I'm choosing to pay for these and add these to my expenses to bring my book to life. The next one is Rocket Publisher, and I have not paid for these last two items yet, but I have still allocated for them in the budget because I will be paying for them. That thing is Rocket Publisher. It's a platform that you can go on. It helps you with keywords. It helps you find categories for your books. It provides analytics to help you narrow down really competitive areas, not so competitive areas, and it gives you information on where your book would best fit in which particular category. I mean, there's tons of information and analytics and data that you can get from Rocket Publisher, and I'm going to be purchasing that so I can, again, just be in the best position to place my book out into the world, a cost that you don't have to spend, but I recommend it, and I know there's other self-publishing authors out there that recommend Rocket Publisher as well. The next cost is I will be renting a space for a book signing after launch. This particular space I rented several years back for a party, and they have two sides. One side is like a cafe, and that's the side that I want to rent out for a book signing, like little meet and greet. And I'm just tentatively setting aside $500 for that space. I think it'll be between $300 and $500 for the space for 2 hours, book signing, meet and greet. I'm not asking to shut the place completely down, just kind of have a space in the corner where people can come in, get their book signed, have a chit chat with me, have coffee, that kind of thing. And again, I'm setting aside 500. I put 500 in the budget for renting a space. And again, that's totally a cost that you don't need. It's just something that I personally want to do. The particular space is mentioned in my book, and I think it will just bring like everything together for this entire experience of bringing this book to life, and then for the readers, if they chose to come out and have their book signed by me and meet me and just have a chit chat with me, they can kind of see the space that I've mentioned about in one of the chapters in the book. Okay, so those were all my expenses. So with everything listed, my grand total, not including the proofreading, $87 is what I would have spent to bring this book to life. So definitely over the 2000 budget, but it's still in that window of what Google averaged a book to cost to self-publish. Since we are talking about money, there are a few things that I kind of want to add here while I was writing down the budget on paper, preparing for this video. I have a tentative price for how much I want my paper book version to cost and my hardcover version to cost, being printed on Amazon KDP. Amazon KDP does have the highest royalty rates, that I believe is about 60%. So they take out the book cost, the cost of the book for them to print it, because they're printing it on your behalf. So they take out the cost of the printing, and then you get a 60% royalty. The way I've priced my books tentatively, I'll be getting a $5 royalty for each book, both the paperback version and the hardcover version. So with that being said, I would need to sell.
Hi guys, before we go any further, there's an important message I'd like to insert here. While this section is about book sales, pricing, and my break-even point, I think that before you even start to write your book, you need to be clear on your why, your goals, and your expectations. This book is about my personal burnout journey, and it is a passion project for me. I want this book to help ambitious women just like me who are high achievers navigate burnout using my experiences as a guide. None of my real goals for this book are related to how much this book is going to make. I didn't go into writing this book thinking it was going to change my life directly from the sales. While that could happen, it's not what I'm leading with. My primary goal for this book is to help as many women as possible. And two, I would like this book to be a launching pad for other aligned opportunities to grow my business, such as coaching women one-on-one, hosting workshops, and other things that are aligned organically that I haven't even thought about. If you'd like to join my exclusive mailing list just to stay up to date on the book launch, click the link in the bio. Okay, thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Now back to the video.
That being said, I would need to sell 618 books just to break even. My loose goal is to sell 1,000 books in 1 year, which would, after taking all of my expenses out, would leave me with about $1,900. This is just like a random number that I selected. After I do some more data analysis, I might change that up. But for the purposes of this video, I'm saying I'd like to sell 1,000 books in 1 year. Again, as a first-time author that really no one knows, I think that's a pretty, lofty goal. Maybe things will be different. Maybe I'll sell more than 1,000 books. But I wanted to just share with you the cost, my cost of what it took to bring my book to life. I am leaving a little wiggle room for that period pre-launch and after launch for marketing. I'm going to do most of the marketing myself and also reach out to many of my friends who have tons of social media followers. I have other people who have committed to helping me put the book out into the world and mention it. So a lot of the marketing I'm going to do on my own, but I am going to leave some wiggle room if I have to pay for any marketing. So there you have it, my real cost on bringing this book to life. If you want to stay up to date on when my book will actually launch, I have an email list down in the description box. If you have any other questions related to cost, let me know in the comments. And until the next video, happy writing.